Mic test 1 2 3. Mic test 1 2 and 3. Mic test 1 2. Mic test 1 2. Hello, Seattle. Alright, I think I got the music to voice voice ratio good. Of course, as people, if anyone joins, of course, we'll go from there and make sure that the music to voice ratio is good. Yeah. Good times, good times. So we're back. This should be the final part to getting Kitsukai in the sitting Saiza position done. When we left off last, we went off to lunch with the wife. It was a good lunch. I say it was kind of a little bit mid, but that's fine. It is what it is. I'm full. I'm satisfied. All is well. All is well. So, we were starting with the base, a base coat, just like you paint a model, right? Every model has a base coat, whether that just be the plastic that it comes from, or you spray paint it, whatever it is. We start with the base coat. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to grab another layer. So add a layer, and then we're going to get these double squares up here. This is clip to layer below. Clip that layer to the one below. What that basically allows us to do, we're going to get a little bit darker shade here. Little darker shade. What that allows us to do is, I'm going to start drawing here, right? You don't see anything. You don't see anything on see that? Essentially, that just means that I can only, anything that I did with the layer below this one here, that's what's only going to pop up. I won't be drawing anywhere else. And so what this allows us to do is to actually shade everything that we want to shade. We get to choose where our light source is coming from. I think I want to continue with the same aspect that the light source is coming from the same side as the other full figure. And just go from there. So really what this takes as far as the shading aspect is that you just gotta try and use a little bit of common sense, and you think about light, right? And when it shines on something. And so if the light is coming from this direction here, right? So from here this way. Well, this of course is going to have light on it. So there's no shadow involved. But the back side of this ear will most certainly have shadow. So we just got to make sure that we add shadow to these areas where it makes sense. The back side of all these hair follicles will be the same thing. A little bit of shadow behind there, shadow right there. Yeah, just like that. Shadow behind these ears. Because we want to pop forward any skin folds. We want to pop forward any hair forward. Go. Just add some shadow. Very basic shadows. We don't have to do anything extravagant. We're just at this point in time we are mapping our shadows. The only added benefit to this though is that we are also taking care of the base coat, which is that blue color that Kitsukai is. That is the added benefit to doing this. whisker some shadows. It's a little thick. It's fine. There we go. Like I said, I'm just trying to use some common sense with these shadows, right? This fur is getting popped off of the main fur line. The shadows are going to be heavier on the right side of this body than they are on the left because that's where the light is coming in from. We're going to use a little bit lighter shadow. This is kind of like a medium shadow. This is a good one to just get those ideas, figuring out where the major shadow lines are supposed to be. The shadowing aspect, of course, should take the longest because the actual coloring of this will be very, very short. Very short. Lasso too. Just to cover some area. That's a good, pretty good hard, fast first shadow pass. Now we're going to do a little bit more of an area coverage, and what that's going to require is we're going to go ahead and add another layer, clip layer to below, So completely separate to this one, so we can take that shadow off. Now we're going to do it a little bit lighter. So first and foremost, we're going to get our base color, right? And then we're essentially just going to go just slightly, darker. And so as far as like, yeah, that should be good. Now this may seem crazy. I understand, this may seem crazy. But just work with me, okay? Let's get good. Taking our eraser, and we're just erasing this cover shadow where there should be highlights. That's what we're doing. So this might seem very crazy. I understand. And these shadows don't have to be perfect, like I said, they just have to make sense. Lots of curves. Lots and lots of curves. Make sure to go back over the shadows that we have already done. Just seemed absolutely crazy. I'm right there with you. I don't need to worry about the in between here because this is going to be darker anyways, so we just need to go and do what we're doing right now. think I'm pretty satisfied with that. So what's the magic behind this, right? Alright, well, it's the opacity. That's the magic behind it. So we're going to take that opacity, go from 100, and then we're just going to eyeball adjust this. And really, of course, what we want to happen is that darker shadow that you've seen down here to actually start to poke through this layer here. So let's start taking that opacity down, and you'll see what I'm saying. See what happened? That was a pretty good transition, but you see what happens? We get ourselves a nice light shadow, some darker shadowing. It's good stuff. Good stuff. And then we can continue to just use this, right? So like it'll not a big deal. Like now that we know what kind of opacity we want, we can just keep going with those shadows. Go over top of this. There you go. Looks alright, looks pretty good. Nothing crazy. Alright. Next thing we're going to do, so let's drop this down like to 40%. So it looks like 40% is like the sweet zone for that. And if we want to come back to this at any point in time, we just need to make sure that we go to 100% opacity to get the color, because we want the color to match, and then drop it back down to that 40% and continue from there. If we grab the color now, see how there's a big difference on the half circle there? The bottom is the black, more darker gray, and the top is lighter. That top part of that circle is the new color. And so, well, if we go to there, right, so now we're at that new color, well, then it should just work. And that's not the case. See how much lighter it is? It's because it's still at 40% opacity. So basically what you're doing is you're taking that new lighter color and you're dulling it down by 40%. And so it's obviously going to be lighter than that color there. So you cannot color match when you have an opacity at 40%. You must go to 100% and get that color and then drop it back down to where you want it. There's your hint and tip for the day on that one. And like I said, some of this is a little bit redundant what we're doing right now, but we are shadow mapping. Like I said, the benefit to doing this is that we are actually working on the blue coat, this blue color here. That's what we're actually working on. But you actually see where, like the eyeballs, the nose, those ears and stuff, well, the inside of the ears are going to be a different color, things like that. So we're actually going to be going back over this stuff and reshadowing those. But like I said, we're just mapping out this shadow and seeing how this looks. And as you can tell, like, you know, this already looks pretty good. We're definitely not done yet. We have gradient shadow to do, and then we have our highlights, of course. So we're going to do highlights next, and then we're going to do gradient shadow and gradient highlight. Okay? We actually need to do one more shadow layer, hard shadow layer. So another layer, clip to below. Now what we're going to do is take this color here, because this is the darkest shadow that we have, right? And we're going to go even darker, just a little bit darker. And the reason being is because, well, these parts here, they're not all going to have the same shadow. You're going to have shadow up and behind and around and so on and so forth. about those shadows. This definitely takes some knowledge of shadows, but again, I mean, I'm not even really doing this in the best way possible either. So, you know, it's like I said, for the most part, so long as it's believable, you're gonna be fine. That's all you gotta worry about, is just making sure, like, when you take a step back and you zoom out, is it believable? Is it believable? I'm contemplating, like, just shadowing this whole area here and going even, like, another step darker, but that should be fine. I think this is fine. It's just a matter of, you know, how dark do you want to go, etc., etc. We shouldn't do anything like this. Is a very dark shadow. There's not much that we should be concerning ourselves with. Kind of a big brush for this, so pressure on this is absolutely paramount. Good stuff. Doing the good things. Once you start doing these shadows, your artwork really comes alive. They don't have to be perfect. No one said that they had to be perfect. Chasing perfection will only set you up for failure. Take that as a hint, corporate America. Chasing perfection sets you up for failure. Let's move on to highlights. So let's make another layer. Drop that one below. Clip below. And like the best part about this, so like the base right here, right? If I unvisualize that base, it all goes away, right? It actually grays out the eyeballs next to all these other layers, and it's because, like I said, all of these layers are based on this one singular layer here. It's really cool stuff. Really cool. All right. So highlights essentially work in the opposite as shadow. Crazy idea, right? Crazy to say that. So what we're going to do is make sure we have our base coat, right? We have the base color of our coat, and then we're going to do the same thing as before. We're just going to go up a little bit in value. There you go. And then now we're just going to highlight everything that is facing the light. So that's clearly facing the light, so that gets a little bit of love. And we're not going to do like the full cover like this. That's not how the light is going to work for us. Shadows have many more values to them than the light does. And so as far as when you're doing your shadows, I mean, you can go crazy with your shadow work, but your light work should be pretty simple. It's just simply right where the light would be bouncing off particular objects and things. And then when we do our gradient light, that's when you're going to start seeing how light just kind of covers stuff. And again, doing the nose is redundant because we have to go back over it again. But again, I want to map it because I'm doing everything all at once, right? I'm doing this whole thing right now. So I want to know where my light source and what's going to be going on, where, so on and so forth. And it's just going to help us with remapping these shadows and highlights when we get to these different colored parts on Kitsukai. By the way, I know I haven't mentioned this yet. Today's music is brought to you by White Bat Audio. Carl Casey, he does a lot of synthwave stuff. He also does a lot of like cool metal music too. I really do like his stuff. So Carl Casey, White Bat Audio. You can find him on Bandcamp.com. A lot of his music you can get for free. And some of his other music, though, you can buy it for pretty much name your price, like how much you want to buy it for. Some things, like his newer music, he will have, a set price. But for most of his music, you can kind of buy whatever. I think he's a really good artist. He comes out with new stuff all the time. And synthwave is one of my favorite genres of music. And so, yeah, hope you enjoy Carl Casey, White Bat Audio, and then we're enjoying some synthwave. Synthwave, baby, synthwave. here, there's not going to be any hard white. That's going to be most certainly gradient white is going to be. Hard shadows. We are going to erase this though. This about there. There's not going to be. As you see, this is also the other benefit of having these separate light layers and shadow layers on their own layer, because you know, you can erase it, right, and it's not going to affect any of your other work. Layers are very important with shadows. Alright, next step. So hard highlights, which is like pure white or like a little bit of yellow, since it depends on the light source that you want, but you could work with pure white, or you could work with a warm or cool color. With the last full body that we didn't use any pure white highlights because there's not really a whole lot on Kitsukai when it comes to fur where white light is like a necessity, and really you don't want to use white light anyways. I did use it up here, but it's not even true white light. There's actually a little bit of yellow in these highlights on his face. I think I may have done it here as well. So these like pure highlights, you know, that's just every now and then. But as you see here, we didn't even use that. We achieved what we wanted to achieve. It's kind of like just a personal flavor. If you want to use those absolute highlights where the absolute shine is. And then of course the same goes for like black too, where you use the absolute shadow or the absolute darkness. In any of the artwork that we're doing right now, we might transpose this into other further and future illustrations, but as far as this reference sheet is concerned, I really don't care for that because I really want a good grasp of the entirety of Kitsukai. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is our gradient shadow and our gradient light. So another layer, imagine that, clip to layer below. This time we're going to be taking the airbrush. Make sure you are selecting soft and have a fairly decently sized brush size here, because this, you know, this is just kind of your own thing. And we're going to figure this out. I might have to adjust my size, adjust things here as we go. But really, this is kind of like a blanketing. We're going to take pure black, and we're going to essentially blanket these these most certainly shadowed areas. And we're not going to put a whole lot of pressure. We're just going to do a nice quick scrape across the tablet. Darken up areas that I think would need more shadow. And just do it like that. That's all you have to do. Especially between the legs here. There you go. Darken that up. As you can tell, it just really makes other things pop. And then, so that's like the blanketing of this, right? just going to have to use your best judgment on this stuff. And then we can make the brush size smaller. Not that small. About that big, I guess a 40 size. This is all going to be relative, of course, only to the size of your canvas, what you've been doing. And we're going to get slightly more detailed, not a whole lot. Work this edge a little bit, not a whole lot. I mean, it's you really don't want a whole lot because you're going to start losing details and things. But these gradients are definitely necessary to create the depth that you need. Definitely to create that depth. And anime uses this too, especially with illustration work, not so much in actual animation, but you will see gradients in animation nowadays. It's definitely much more common than what it was. Brings Kitsukai just even more out. So that's without, that's with. It's a big difference. Absolutely big difference. A lot of artists will just use the paintbrush tool, but again, I have my own style. I have my own ideas of how I like to do things, and that's what's going to happen over time. You're going to just develop this idea of how you want things shaded, how you want to do stuff. And again, this is like an alternate cell shading technique using fairly heavy gradients, more so than what most would. I'm just going to give a little bit on this arm here. There we go. Excellent. Now, another layer. Flip to below. Now we're going to go pure white. And then we're going to increase that brush size. And then we're just going to give some swoops where the light is touching things, right? Decrease that size a little bit, maybe like a 58, between 40 and 60. A little bit more of a touch here and there. And like I said, some of this stuff we're going to have to redo. It's a good enough messing around with the light there. I'm going to use a soft eraser and just kind of soften this up a little bit. I think it's just a little too much light. We just want the tiniest little bit. Again, that's the whole reason why these layers exist, so that way you're not messing up any of the work that you really want to keep. I think that looks alright. Alright, so now we're going to color it, right? And you're probably asking yourself, this is a lot of things that you just did. And how are you going to color this thing? Real easy. We're going to first select the base layer. Then we're going to check mark every single layer that we were using to create these shadows. And then we're going to right click, merge selected layers, so now it's all on one layer. Okay? Then we're going to go to Edit, Tonal Correction, and Gradient Map. And pay close attention to what's about ready to happen to Kitsukai. He got a lot darker, didn't he? It's because the natural gradient map that it's using is this black to white gradient that you see up here, right? Well, we can change that. So we can go to like somber shades. We can make them red, yellow, blue, purple, you know. And the best thing about it is, as you can tell, we already have our shadows and our highlights in the color that we want, per se. We're not, of course, done yet, but this is so easy. Now we got the sky effects, and I chose night sky for Kitsukai. And then, of course, well, they're not the same color, right? So we're going to hit OK. Then we're going to go back to Edit, Tonal Correction, Hue, Saturation, and Luminosity. So you're going to have another bar that pops up. And what we're basically going to do is now kind of do this slider and match as close, and this is also another disclaimer to what I was saying, is when I finally get into illustration work for Kitsukai, I will, when I finally decide like this is the right color for Kitsukai, I will take down these numbers. You see all these numbers right here? I will take down all of these numbers with the night sky gradient, and I will write them somewhere or take a picture on my phone or take a screenshot on this computer. So that way it's just going to be an easy plug the number in here and it will be automatically the color that I want them to be. And it will be the same color every single time. So let's mess with these a little bit. Let's get that hue. So I think we went a little lighter blue. Let's undersaturate. Let's do a little bit of luminosity here. It's a little too gray. It's pretty close. But as you see with the importance of see how these numbers add -8 and -7 right now, right? And so I would keep a mental image of that. And or, like I said, the best part would be just taking a picture or writing these numbers down. And so that way you'll know exactly what you need to do. A little bit more blue. I think that's about right. And if you look down here, as far as like, you know, you start losing a little bit of this detail, but that's I mean, you're not really focused on that, right? You're not focused on those things. I think this is close enough. We can always go back and redo it. So that's close enough. But that's basically how you color in grayscale. And now what we have to do is create a separate layer and do the same exact thing that we did with the base, but do it with Now the face mask, his eyes, nose, mustache, you get the picture. So we're just going to go through it. You get the drill, create a base, name it. So the next thing I'm going to work on is his inner ears. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call, let's see here, inner ears. I'm going to hit enter. And then from there, we're going to go inside here and pick our gray color, doesn't matter what, just so long as we have a gray start point. We're going to undo the base. Just makes things a lot easier. So just click the eyeball to get the base out of here. And now we can fill the insides of these ears, right? And of course we can color those up, any of these little white spots inside the ears. There we go. And then when we get that base back on, as you see, now the inner ears have their own like little area. And then we can look at these shadows and stuff and see what we've done and just try to emulate that as best as possible. But like I said, this is the whole point, right? Because I already have an idea of what I want to do anyways. And so if we change things up a little bit, that's fine. It'll be okay. It'll be absolutely alright. So we got the base for the inner ears. Make another layer, click to below. Go a little darker. And then just do your thing. It's a little thick there on that side. So this one we can go a little thicker because it's definitely away from the light. Create another layer, click the button below, go pure black, get your soft airbrush, and just start going around those edges. And obviously as the ear goes inside, right, you go inside your ear, it's going to get darker. So near the bottom here, it's going to be pretty dark. Alright, and like this ear should be pretty dark because it's facing away from the light. Something like that. Just use your eyeball. Just use a little bit of judgment with it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it just needs to be close. It just needs to be close. In the reality of things, I think the shadow is still too big for this, so we just go right back through. Go back to your previous layer. Go to eraser. Make sure you're hard, and then just clean up. Clean it up. It's fine. It's okay. Never was a problem. There we go. A little better, a little better. That's pretty much it for the ears. So we'll take that ear, make sure you click inner ears, check mark for those two layers that we clicked below, merge the selected layers so now those ears are completely separate, and let's color them. Edit, tonal correction, gradient map, go to somber shade and red. Let's see. Now it looks like we got like some highlighting issues here. Right, so this is fine, but this over here for some reason, not so much. We can probably fix this though. I'm trying to think why it highlighted it. It shouldn't highlight it. Edit, tonal correction, gradient map. I mean, some things just don't work out, right? So we just have to figure out where it is grabbing all of this light from. Okay, it looks like it's grabbing light from over here. So let's go back, edit, tonal correction, gradient map. Let's go to sky. Sunset. We can do sunset, that seems to be fine. The only thing that we need to do though is go into hue, saturation, luminosity, kind of like let's mess around with it a little bit. There we go. Turn that saturation down. We don't need such a bright and vibrant color inside there. Somber shade red over here, and I guess there's a little bit of highlight, but I think that's actually from the glow effects that we're going to be doing later on our finished coloring. So, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you got to change it up a little bit. It's alright. It's alright. And so we're just going to keep going. Just gonna keep on going. Next thing, we're going to do the white spots on his face. So I'm just going to use spots. You can name them whatever you want. And since these are pure white, looks like we had a little bit of bleed right there. It's not closed all the way. It's fine. Just erase it. Works out just fine. Sometimes it just doesn't behave, and that's okay. That's okay. Alright, so as far as these spots are concerned, it looks like really there's only one. It's these two here that are in any sort of shade. So we're going to go make a new layer, and then we're going to get the soft airbrush and just kind of shade it up a little bit. That's all we're going to do. And then since, again, this is a pure white situation, we don't have to do any of the gradient maps or anything like that. Excuse me. Oh man, that food is starting to get to me. It's like Thanksgiving when you eat a lot of food and you just get tired. So merge those selected layers. There you go. We're done with that. Next, we're going to do the eyes and nose. So I think you get the idea of what we're doing, right? Eyes and nose. Eyes and nose. Take the base. And then we're going to do not pure black though. Just really, really close. Really close. Because we want enough lightness to where we can actually still shadow the nose. Eyes we're not too concerned about, but because it's so dark, it looks black anyways, for the most part. Alright, base back. So it looks like we got a little bit of shading. Layer, click to below. Now we're going to go pure black. The inside of these nostrils. First side. And then now flip to below. See, that's what happens when you don't clip it. We probably can do a little lighter than pure black. There we go, that's better. And then another layer, clip to below. Now we're going to do those highlights. Just don't go pure white, but something very light. The nose is so dark that even if you're not pure white like what I'm doing here, it's going to look like it's pure white when it's not. That. And again, we don't need a gradient map because this is pretty much working with the grayscale. So we don't need a gradient map to do this. Next, we're going to work on the face mask. Now, this is going to be a little bit more detailed because there's a lot of shading and stuff that's going on here. But before we do that, click eyes, nose, check mark your 2 layers, merge selected layers. Nice, beautiful middle in the middle gray color. Doesn't matter if it's a little bright or dark. And then, as you guessed it, take the base off so that you can just fill the color in, not have to worry about all that things. Again, this coloring doesn't have to be perfect. It's just simply got to get the point across, right? Which is, you know, just making those colors work. So put the base back on, and then from here, we're going to verify what kind of shading we got going on. So this whole side is fine. There's just a highlight, and then some shading underneath the eyeball. And then we have a darker shade on this side with the more of a, what do you want to call it, lesser shade, but it's still there. So let's work on this. New layer, clip below. Go a little darker, just a little darker. We are going to follow. So this is the secret to this, right? How we can match up that shading that we did. So clearly there's a line right here, right? Okay, well, we don't have the mask on, so we turn the mask off. And we're just going to draw. If I don't mess things up. Then we're going to put the mask back on and fill it. And there you go, as you see here, it now matches up. Then we're going to undo the mask again. We're going to do a little darker, a little darker. And I'm not making another layer now because this is all shade work. It's a very small area. This is another way to do it, is just get all of your shading done on one end and make sure you work from light to dark. And then as far as the other way around, you know, as far as your lights go, you work from dark to light on your light stuff. So we're working from light to dark. We got our lightest shade done. We just went darker, a little darker, and so we have the under this eyeball. So something like this, and then something like that. It does not have to match. It just has to be close to what your plan is, and as you see here, so long as this shadow line kind of matches up with this shadow line, it will seamlessly go together. We have a little bit of a shadow on this nose right here. There we go. Alright, looks good. The next thing that we need to do though is take our pure black and just give it a little bit of that gradient. Okay, that's the shadow aspect. Now we're going to do the highlights. So add a layer, click to below. Alright, so we got the first thing we're going to do is get our base color back that we've been using for the mask. We're going to go a tad lighter, just a little bit lighter. And if I've seen right, we have a little mark here, little mark there. I have to try and do those in one fell swoop. Again, it does not have to match, just needs to be in that area. Alright, we just got like a thing going on there. Right, there you go. Perfect. I mean, I like either way, right? I mean, it does not have to match. You don't have to be that anal about it. It's perfectly fine. It's all good. And so in saying that, the mask should be fine. Should be good. So mask, click your two clips, right click on any of them, merge selected layer, and then we're going to go edit, tonal correction, and you guessed it, gradient mapping, and then sunset. Oh, this looks so good. Look at that. It just colors it for you. Just colors it for you. Let's see, mask color wise, looks like we're pretty spot on. I don't know if I used sunset as it was. Sunset is just a really good color for red in general. So we'll just keep that. I mean, it looks phenomenal. We don't need to change anything. Alright, next we are going to do the mustache. Mustache is pretty easy. It's just near, pitch black. So yeah, layer. I'm just gonna type in stash. You guessed it. Unsee the base. Go near pure black. Just start filling it in. It wasn't coloring the little white underjaw there because, as we discovered, it is white. So. And then, as you see, the shadow line here, so that's real easy. Layer, click below, go a little darker, continue that shadow. Pure black. Go back to the airbrush. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright. The head is coming along nicely. Stash, clip, merge selected layers. There we go. And now we're going to do one of the biggest parts, which is his underfur. So I'm going to do underfur. Oh, look at her, he's got the underfur. Alright, so this one, we're going to simply, I think we're going to drop the underfur underneath everything else except for the base, because it's such a big area that when we want to start doing these colors right, I really don't want to interfere with anything that we've already done. It's unnecessary. So we're going to put that under fur all the way underneath, except for the base coat, which is this, right? So now we got to be careful, but at the same time, all right, now we are going to be using a little lighter than normal gray because it is a very light undercoat. And so what we're going to do, we're going to just create just some fur lines. And the reason being is because we can't really fill this. We can't fill this like normal because of all these gaps. So we just do that, and it fills just fine. Make sure you get these little tips here that are not colored in. These little white tips. Make sure you color them in. There you go. Get this little jaw right here. Of course, this is under fur as well, so we just go ahead and click the fill bucket on that one. We do have to erase this. Well, we don't have to, but we need to because the base coat is underneath this one. So when we go back to the base, as you see here, you're going to get this undercoat, and it's not going to be. We don't want that undercoat on top of the base coat. There's going to be some leaking and stuff like that, that's fine. We'll just fix it with the eraser. You know, this is my first time really working with like a full furry character. So, you know, my coloring isn't going to be like the best just because of the simple fact of like fur behaves much differently than skin. And armor plates and clothing and stuff. Like once we get to the clothing stage, this is going to be so trivial to do because we're not going to have to worry about all of this fur and making sure that it's segregated and you know, done in the right way. Then we're also going to do that with this over here because the tail or tip is essentially the same thing. Starting to look more like Kitsugai. Alright, so we're going to have to take this bit by bit. So let's go ahead and do what we normally do. Get a new layer, flip it below. Now we just need to like undo the underfur, right? So that way we can see how these shadows are. If we look over on this side, that's not a shadow, that is a highlight. So we just gotta remember that. This side here has a hard shadow. So what we can do is drop down on the color a little bit. And reality-wise, we can just use the lasso tool. Pop back to the underfur and hit that. There you go. And that shadow also goes up like that. Two different shadows here. There we go. And then we have a darker one underneath that one, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We want to make sure our base shadows are good. Draw that line. some darker shadows. Good synthwave, by the way. I love this synthwave. Carl Casey does a great job. This puts me right in the Tron, man. Essentially all we got left is a gradient, shadow, and some highlights. So get that airbrush out. We'll increase the size since we have a lot of area. I don't think it needs that big, but there we go. Tip of the tail too. Don't forget the tip of the tail. So you could say, well, okay, how are we going to fix this? Because we just did a bunch of gradient shadowing, right? This is one of the drawbacks to working on shadows on the same layer. We are going to have to undo everything we just did. Before we started doing the gradient. So let's get that lighter shadow. Alright. And then the darker shadow. Now we can do our gradient. Whoa! Whoa! Didn't even do that. Alright. Now we just need to do another layer. Click that, and we're going to do our highlights now. A little brighter. And we're just going to start doing those highlights. That'll work. And then obviously we have a gradient highlight, so pure white, and then just give it a little buzz by, just a little buzz. There we go. I'll take that one back, but the rest of it, fine. And then, as you know, under Fur, select your 2 clip layers, merge selected, and then edit, tonal correction, gradient map. Let's see here. I think it might be. I think it's the Blue Sky Bright that we used. Edit, tonal correction, hue, saturation, and luminosity. We're going to go real bright. That's about where we need it to be. I think that's exactly where we need it to be. Don't you just like that it colors it for you? Hit OK. And then now we can kind of get like a good idea of how different the blues are together. And this is a little bit more rich, and this is a bit more subdued. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not too worried. We can go back here and edit tonal correction, hue, saturation, luminosity, and just kind of play. A little bit brighter. I think that's about right. Cool. Cool stuff. We're just overviewing everything right now. Everything seems to be matching up pretty good. Alright, now we need to do the last little bits that we have are his hands and feet. Hands and feet and shoes. should be done. And then of course we have our glowing that we need to do, a glow and flash. So let's do hands, feet, get them knocked out, and then we'll do our flash and glow. Flash and glow, flash and glow. So we're gonna do hands and feet. Hands and feet. Yes, sir. Get you some of them hands and feet. Now we are going to go back to what was it? The nose and eyes. Yeah, eyes and nose right there. I want to do the nails in the eyes and nose section. So take that base off. Get that near black. We're not going to highlight any of these. We just want these nails colored. Make sure you get those uncolored spots. I'll tell you what, that stuff sticks out like a sore thumb on darker colors. There we go. Better. Alright. Hands and feet. Now we can get rid of that base again. And I think we pretty much did a little lighter. Still dark, but dark gray. Let's do like we did with the under fur. Let's just draw that line. That fur line there. Fill up this whole spot and not have to worry about it. And then we should be able to. There we go. Very nice. Little uncolored areas. There you go. Looks like we want to top the nails, that's fine. Just erase what's on the nails. Too easy. Alright. And then same concept down here. Oh my goodness, cheap viewers. I love cheap viewers, but I actually don't, so you're banned. Mr. Roboto. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo. Domo. That looks pretty good. So bring back that base. Bring back the base. And then we're going to start doing our shadows. You know the drill. Do the shadows. Layer and clip it. And then hands and feet. See what we got going on for shadows. Not a whole lot of hard line shadows here, but we definitely got one over here. So just a little darker. Alright, looks like a lot of gradient work for the most part. And then on the feet here, definitely some shadow. A little darker. There we go. Looks like we got highlights to do next. But let's go ahead and do our gradient black. There we go. New layer, click below. Alright, so now get this and do a little brighter. A little brighter. Correction, gradient map, and I think I did night sky dark, yes, and then edit tonal correction, hue, saturation, luminosity, and then brought it up a little bit on the brightness there. There we go. Something like that. Something like that. Ooh, mic bump, mic bump. Mic bump, 1, 2, 3. Mic bump, 1, 2, and 3. Alright, for the most part, we're pretty much done. Now we just have our glow and flash. So what we're going to do now is take this base, select all of the things that we just did colors with, merge them together, so now we're all just one big color. Now we're going to clip a whole layer to this one, and however we're going to do a little something different, pay attention. So far we've been doing normal blending, now we need to add glow. And so what this is going to do is exactly what you see. So when we take the soft airbrush and we go over the whole entirety of everything, we essentially are adding that glowy light. Very nice, very nice. And then now we're going to do flashing. Now what is flashing? Flashing, to reiterate, and I probably will be a broken record no matter how many times I stream, how many videos I make, I'll probably say the same thing over and over again because there's somebody that's going to watch this episode but hasn't watched any of the other episodes. Flashing is knowing that there is no pure darkness in the world and in the natural world of things. There is always some form of light in some way, shape, or form, but mostly in an outdoor environment. But really what flashing is, and I use blue, a lot of people use blue, and we basically take the darkest areas and we add some glow to it. And essentially you kind of get something like this. But we are going to refine this a little bit more. So let's do our selection tool. Now I use the magic little wand. It says auto select. Since there's really not a whole lot of different colors, right? See like how like this looks all janky and shit? When it's a solid color like this, it mostly will select everything for you. If not, use the lasso tool like normal and then just draw around that area that you want to do, okay? But if you, going crazy over here. But if you can help it, try and use the magic wand, auto select, and just tap that area and hopefully it'll select everything you want. That's better. Super light. Very nice. Get right on in there. Do the things, do the things. Other than that, though, there you go. We can nitpick this as much as we want. We can add things and erase things and whatever, but it doesn't matter. So it's this is pretty much Kitsukai and Sitting Saiza. Sitting in Saiza. Yes. Very, very nice. So our reference sheet for Kitsukai is pretty much done. I thought about doing like, let's see here. Let's get, let's add a new folder layer. Let's say, kit sit. There we go. And then we're going to take the base, select this layer here, select the sitting line, and drag it right into that folder. So now the whole thing is in one folder. As I was saying, we're going to just make a quick layer real quick just to show you. I was thinking about doing like a jaw. So little snoots. And like do like a snarl of some sort, because I have never done like a canine mouth. So something like that. But I mean, I was just playing around with that idea in my head. And then Kitsukai is like, gaze upon me, for this is my muzzle. Enjoy my snoot in all its glory. But yeah, I think Kitsukai's reference sheet is done. You're ready to move on to dynamic posing, putting some clothes on this guy, figuring out like a uniform or 2 or 3 or 4, who knows how many uniforms. The katana swords that he's going to be carrying. Well, he's going to have a katana and a wakizashi, I think is what it's called. Let's see, I want to make sure I pronounce this right. Wakizashi. Yeah, wakizashi. Which basically, if you don't know, a wakizashi is essentially a smaller katana. And a lot of times that wakizashi was a backup weapon or was mostly used for seppuku. If you don't know what seppuku is, then I'd look that up. I'm not going to say it. But, that's... Samurai typically had these 2 swords on them, a katana and a wakizashi. So, Kitsukai will also have 2 swords. How about that? How about that? But needless to say, hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Anybody that came in and watched, appreciate you. I didn't chat with anybody today. Everyone has lives. Not everybody can, be on the stream to chat all the time. Not a big deal. Obviously, as anybody knows, if you come on in and watch, I'm pretty active and interactive, so by all means, I'll talk with you. And for anybody that watches this on YouTube, by all means, hit the like, comment, subscribe. And again, I really hope everybody enjoyed the whole process from start to finish. Hopefully learned a thing or two. Obviously, I'm learning a thing or two while I'm doing this, because these are poses and things I've never done before. But in any case, the reference sheet is complete. Reference sheet is complete. And can't wait to start on the true illustration works for Kitsukai. But needless to say, this is your host, Samurai Kit Kat. You have yourself a good night. Peace.